Hey everybody, this is Rock DIY. Getting ready to do the 200-hour service on my Kubota BX23S. You go to page 117 of the owner's manual. You see the things that need to be, engine oil needs to be changed, engine oil filter needs to be replaced, HST oil filter replaced, engine start system check, OPC system check. Greasing definitely needs to be done, but that should be done all the time. And then wheel bolt torque needs to be checked, lock lever needs to be cleaned. Need to check the battery condition, clean it as well, air cleaner element, and it also says clean it every 100 hours and then replace every 1,000 hours or 1 year. So I've already replaced that filter once. Check the fan belt, or adjust the fan belt if it needs to be adjusted. Adjust the HST neutral spring, adjust the brake pedal, and adjust the toe end. And then if you go over to page 133, it actually walks you through all the things that need to be done for your 200-hour service. Got my supplies here. Got the Super UDT2. Got some grease. I ended up buying a new grease gun. The other one went bad. Used some brake cleaner to clean up the Zerk fittings, only because they tend to get a lot of dirt around the top of it. And so when you put the grease gun on, possibly pushing dirt into the Zerk fitting. So I'm going to clean them up a little bit before I put new grease in this time. My oil pan, oil wrench, well, two different types, because the last time I tried to use one of these and it was this one. It didn't work so well, so I ended up using this one. I've got engine oil, wrench set, the owner's manual or operator's manual, got my funnel, and then 2 fuel filters. I may only just replace the fuel filter that's underneath the tractor and not the one that's on the side of the engine, because the one on the side of the engine is pretty clean, and it was clean last time I changed it out. So not sure I really need to change it. If it looks like it's got some sediment in it or starts to get ugly, I'll change it out. I am missing a couple things. I need some more Super UDT2 engine oil, and the engine oil filter and HST filter are somewhere in my shed. I just have to find them. Time to get the Kubota BX23S cleaned up for its 200-hour service. When I purchased my tractor, I noticed that the majority of the fittings had, well, the fittings had different colored grease on them. Can't really tell right now. I need to clean these up before I grease them, but there was a mix of red grease and black grease, depending on which fitting it was. No real explanation behind it, but typically different colors mean they're a different type. And so I've been greasing with the actual Kubota branded grease, and what I've noticed is that when it gets really hot, or I use the tractor quite a bit, the grease doesn't sit. It almost kind of melts away from the tractor, especially where it's getting hot. It just kind of runs. So decided to try some new grease, and this is a red grease. It's a Mystic JT6. It's a high temp multi-purpose grease. I'll give this a try and see what happens. But back to my point about the grease looking like it was, well, you can see here, you can see it's bunched up down here and down in there. And that's how it is with most of the grease points. So it's really not staying where it should be. And my issue with that is I ended up having to grease all the Zerk fittings a lot more than normal. So I'm gonna go with this grease and see what happens. Check this front differential oil. Make sure it's good. Dipstick's not easy to get off either. Since the front axle case is low, I'm going to go ahead and top it off with some Super UDT2. It holds 3.8 quarts. So I'm going to go ahead and top this off. You can see the front axle case capacity on page 119 of the operator's manual. I just need to clean this. I do have another one, but this just needs to be cleaned. Used the air compressor and cleaned out the air filter. Also cleaned out the radiator screen, so that's cleaned out. This little rubber strip on the top, I think it's just glued on, and it's getting close to coming off, so I'm probably gonna have to glue that back on at some point. I checked the tire pressure on all 4 tires. The back ones are at 20 and the front ones are at 22. Just so I don't have to keep looking it up. I have 20 written above the back tires and 22 on the hood above the front tires, just so every time I go to check the pressure, I know what the tire pressure is and don't have to go get the manual or try to memorize which one is which. Here are all the grease points. One right there, one up underneath the cables here, or the hydraulic lines here. So that's 2. You get 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 right there. 8. 9. 10. 10 is up under there. 10. 11. 12. 13 right there. 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. 19. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, and 33. 34 right there. If you ever have a Zerk fitting that after you grease it, the grease starts coming out, I just keep a thumbtack on hand and I just push it and then eventually it'll stop. This little rubber molding has never stayed on the hood. Not sure what the deal is. Keep putting it on. It'll stay on if I keep the hood closed, but as soon as I open the hood, it comes right off. It doesn't even like grab onto anything. It's been like that the entire time I've owned it. It'll come right back off, but as long as it stays closed, it'll stay where it's supposed to. I actually had put some adhesive on it, hoping that it would stay on, but the tractor sits out in the sun, or tractor gets hot, then it just comes right off. A 14mm socket. Remove the bolt, drain the engine oil. The lesson I learned a long time ago is press the bolt against the threads as you turn it to prevent oil from going everywhere, and then once you know it's loose, you can just lift it off and drain it. I do have the engine oil cap off. We'll let that go for a while. The first time I removed the engine oil filter, it was nearly impossible to get off. It was on there tight as heck. I used one type of oil filter wrench. Now I'm going to use this type. I believe it's about 3.3 quarts of oil that come out of the engine oil pan and the filter combined. I always make sure this rubber gasket comes off with the filter. A lesson learned a long time ago. Put the new filter on, and the new filter is HH150-32430. Use a little bit of the used oil on the new gasket. I'll double check before I tighten it all the way down, but I believe the manual says tighten it down and then give it one full turn by hand. It doesn't even say to use a wrench at all. Alright, so new engine oil filter is on. Now I just need to put the drain plug back in and put new oil in. Go ahead and wipe off this oil around the drain plug hole and put the 14mm bolt back in and tighten it down. Got the oil pan bolt in, that's done. Got the engine oil filter on. Once I got it to the surface, and then I hand tighten it another half turn, and it's seated pretty well. Difficult to turn beyond a half turn, so it's on there. Now I'm going to put about 3.3 quarts of oil into the engine, because that is approximately what was removed when I removed the oil and the filter. I double up my funnels like this because it makes it easier to put the oil in, and this just happens to sit there just right. So that was about 1 quart so far. Go ahead and check the dipstick, see where we're at. I think I've only put about 2 quarts in here so far. Give it another check, and then should just have to add a little bit more and then be done, because it's pretty close to that 3 quarts that I put in. It's just above the halfway marks on the dipstick. Here we go with the HST filter removal. this all off to make sure you get a good seal. I've already rubbed fluid around the O-ring. I tightened up the bolt, which is 1 1/16 or 45 millimeter socket. Cleaned it off, but I'm gonna put this brake cleaner on there. So don't want hydraulic fluid all over the place. You gotta be careful when you take that drain plug off, because the hydraulic fluid will just come pouring out. And you gotta be prepared to catch it in the pan and have it in the right place and not have it spray everywhere. I don't have a funnel that's long enough. I have two funnels, one on top of the other. And this is what I did the first time when I changed the HST fluid out. So that's what I'm doing this time. And what I'm going to do is put the first 2.5 gallons in before checking the level. And plus I gotta take it off the ramps in order to level it out to check it. One gallon down. This is the second gallon going in. Two gallons down. Here's the third gallon, which I'll put about 2.5. And then I'll move the tractor, level it out, just to make sure. My belt is not loose, but if it was, there's a bolt right here, and there's a bolt right underneath. So the bottom one, you want to loosen, and then don't loosen it too much. You just want to loosen it to allow the alternator to move. And then loosen this one, and then you want to put a pry bar carefully between the alternator and the engine and pull it towards you. I got this bar in here, and that's about where you want to put it. You don't want to put it over here because you'll damage the alternator. You want it over here, and then you're going to pull it towards you and then lock that top bolt down. Once you got the top bolt locked down, then tighten up the bottom one, and that's it.